welcome to Everyday Moodlings. I'm your host, Jeree Parks. So we have flipped into a new month, and this month we are going to be talking about tools. Specifically, some of the tools I couldn't live without. Not all. I have a few projects planned this week or this month that'll be tools that I have that I don't hardly ever use. So it should be fun. On the blog, I yesterday posted a list of the top 10 non-essential tools that I would include in my craft room or art room. Basically, that was really sparked by, I see these lists all the time of the top 10 things you need for scrapbooking or paper crafting or mixed media. And some of them are so obvious, I think, oh, well, duh. Of course I'm going to need paper and a paper cutter and scissors and adhesive. So once we get past the really obvious things, what else would it be really nice to have? And one of the tools that I listed as one of my most essential tools is this little coloring tool called Fantastix. I love these. What this is basically a colorless brush marker. It's got a brush marker tip, but there's no ink in it. Now, they are designed to be used with a liquid ink, but they are a wonderful coloring tool, and that is how I'm going to use them today. We are going to do some coloring. So I have a tag. I'm on a Halloween theme, if you've noticed that the last couple of weeks, because I'm trying to do some Halloween tags for my house. So I am using a tag. This is a watercolor paper tag. It's one I cut out myself. It is 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. I'm going to be using some stamps. We're going to be doing some coloring, with one of my favorite coloring tools, and these are the Derwent Inktense ink pencils. This, unlike a true watercolor pencil, this is actually a water-soluble ink. So they do become permanent when they're done. They don't move around quite as well as a watercolor pencil, but they're still really good. So we are going to be working with these today, and we're going to be doing some stamping and some embossing. A lot of fun. So I'm going to get started on my tag. I'm going to do some stamping with these funky houses from Dylusions. We're going to kind of turn them into haunted houses for this tag. And then I also have this vintage Halloween set. I wanted to use some of these words. Not sure. I might use a bat or the candy corn. We'll see once I get going. And this one is from a company. It's called CDs, and then it became something else. Not sure they're in business anymore, but it's a really fun Halloween set. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the music and start with the stamping. When I get to the point that I'm using the Fantastix with the pens, I will go ahead and slow the video down so that we can talk about that. And I have the basics of my tag, or the kind of the start of it, done. You'll notice I used the Inktense pencils to create more of a watercolor background. Now we're going to go back in and fill in a little bit more. Now the great thing about Inktense pencils versus a watercolor pencil is that they dry permanent. So I can go back over it and add additional color in here. There'll be some color melding, but not nearly as bad as if I was using watercolor pencils. So basically I'm just putting a good amount of color down, left it a little open in the middle there, and now you're going to need some water. The other thing you're going to need is a clean paper towel for this project. Now I have a number of these Fantastix, and a lot of them I have labeled so that I know what color. This one I just used with water, and even though it's a little green on the end, that's not going to transfer. I've already cleaned it up. They're super easy to clean. You can just see, even though that purple is underneath there, it's not mixing at all. Now if I was going with a really light color there, I might have some problems. Now to clean it, I just rubbed around that water, and I go ahead and clean it off on the paper towel. Now it's ready for the next color. So I'm going to go ahead and color them all in. One thing I will note is when you buy these, the tips are really stiff, and over time they do loosen up a little bit, but they're just such a wonderful coloring tool. So I'm going to go ahead and color mine in and finish up this background. So I kind of have things colored in. I might add some more colors, and I have some more. I got out some of the ones that I'd already marked. So I just put a little color tab on the back, and if it's got a dot in it, that means it's for wet mediums. So we're going to go ahead and start with our purples. Now you'll see here what I did is I actually just layered the same color that I originally used for the background on top. And I didn't get too heavy-handed with the color. That's not what I was really looking for. But you'll notice that pretty quickly I lose my ability to blend. So you want to work rather quickly while you're working with this medium. And now that I have some color on here, you can see those white lines that I was working on earlier. These are such wonderful, bright, vibrant colors. Really a lot of fun to work with. So again, I'm going to turn on the music and finish up my coloring. Okay, so we have our tag all colored now. Basically, it's kind of a color blocking design, and on the top of this, I'm going to go ahead and add a quote, and then I'll be all done with my tag. But I wanted to show you how to use these. These are so fun. One of the things I love most about them is because this nib is a lot stiffer than a paintbrush, it's really easy to activate your colors and remove any coloring lines that you may have when using watercolor pencils or Inktense pencils. Sometimes with a paintbrush it's hard to get it to really smooth out, or something like gelatos works really well with those as well. I know you've seen me use them a lot. So if you're interested in more ideas, please be sure to check out the blog. And in October, I will actually be doing a watercolor class. So we'll be using a lot of interesting techniques in that class. So I hope you join me. If you have any questions about anything I did here, please be sure to let me know. I am always happy to help. And until next week, this is Jeree Parks for Everyday Moodlings.